This video is about the Shure MV7. The Shure MV7 is a dynamic microphone with USB and XLR connections. Now all of the audio that you hear is being recorded with this microphone using the USB connection and a smartphone. Currently I'm using the auto tune feature, which makes choosing a good microphone setting really easy and fun. But more about that later. Now before we get started, there is something that I want you to know. I got this microphone for free thanks to Hannah from Shure Germany. And in all of my reviews, you get my honest opinion. So if there is something that you should know about, I will tell you. Now let's start with some technical details. The Shure MV7 is a cardioid microphone. Don't worry, I'll explain that later. It costs around 240 euros. It's available in black and silver. It has USB and XLR connections. It records in 24 bits up to 48 kilohertz. And it's controlled via app or a little touch-sensitive area right here on top of the microphone. And one more thing that's also very interesting is that it weighs 550 grams, which is quite a lot. Let's talk about build quality and buttons. The Shure MV7 weighs 550 grams. And the reason for that is it's made completely out of metal. It has a really high build quality, and I suspect it's gonna last probably forever, or maybe a little less, but who cares? It's extremely well built, and that's what really matters. Regarding the controls and buttons, the Shure MV7 doesn't have any real buttons, but it does have a touch-sensitive control area right here on the top, and you can control the microphone gain, the headset volume, and live monitoring mix between microphone and playback. The MV7 also has a mute switch right here, which comes in really handy if you need to mute yourself, and it makes things a lot easier because you don't have to search for the mute function in some kind of software. Let's talk about the backside. The Shure MV7 can be connected by XLR or micro USB. Now the cool thing is that with the micro USB cable, you can connect it to your smartphone or your computer. And the great thing about all of these connections is that you can use them at the same time. And there is also a 3.5mm jack, which you can use to monitor your audio. That's all there is, and that's probably also all you need. Even though I'm not a big fan of micro USB, and in my opinion, this would have been better with a USB-C port, I think it's really great to be able to choose between XLR and USB, and even have the possibility to use both at the same time. So overall, good job. Let me demonstrate the pickup pattern. As I told you, this microphone is a cardioid microphone. And I know it's a weird word, and for me it's even harder to pronounce, but let me demonstrate what that means in more practical terms. So I'm going to rotate the microphone away from my mouth, and you will hear what that sounds like. So as I'm speaking, I'm going to turn the microphone away from my mouth, and I'm going to keep talking so you can hear what this sounds like. You may also hear some little disturbing sounds from my tripod. Sorry for that, but let's keep on turning this one back, and you will now hear that my voice is getting a lot louder. And this has multiple implications for real life use. One of them is that you should always be in front of the microphone. I mean, obviously. But it also means that you should not use it for two people at the same time. So if you want to record a talk with two people, you should get a second microphone. And it also means that the microphone doesn't pick up a lot of room noise, which is great. So as you can hear, this room is not particularly well treated for audio recordings, but with this microphone, I'm getting a really clean sound without a lot of echo, or maybe no echo at all. In order to get a great recording of your voice, you should be close to the microphone. In this part, I want to demonstrate what the Shure MV7 sounds like in different distances. So we're going to start pretty close to the microphone, like this. And this is more or less the way that I record my voiceovers and my podcast. And you can tell that it sounds pretty different from a little further away. So this is more or less like 15 centimeters away. It sounds a lot different. And it's gonna get even more different if I step further away into my background light, which looks amazing. But to be honest, you should stay close to your microphone. You don't have to be really close, but you also shouldn't be too far away. Let's make a quick plosive test. You may wonder, what is a plosive? I mean, it's easy. There are words that bring out a lot of wind when they're spoken. For example, pizza or popcorn. Now, this is not a problem when you use the microphone correctly. But if you place the microphone directly in front of your mouth, it might become a problem. Let me show you. Pizza, pronto, popcorn, pizza, pizza, pizza. I'm getting pretty hungry. Pizza. If you speak across the microphone like this in a 45-degree angle, it's not a problem at all. Pizza is not a problem. Pizza is a problem. So use the right speaking technique or get an external filter to filter out these pop sounds, and you're gonna be fine. Let's talk about some software features. The Shure MV7 comes with a quite beautiful and helpful app. It's called Shure Motiv, and the app looks pretty much the same on desktop as it looks on your smartphone. With that being said, let's have a look at the software. As you can see, there is a auto level function and there is a manual setting as well. Let's check out the auto level function first. We can save and load presets. Presets are nice, especially if you want to save different settings and access them later. You can mute the mic, pretty easy as well. The monitor mix is a little bit more difficult to understand. Currently, I have plugged in some earphones into the Shure MV7, and with the monitor mix, I can decide whether I want to hear only my voice, or I also want to hear what the computer is currently playing. So if you want to voice over a video, for example, this could be pretty helpful. Or maybe if you're in a Zoom call and you also want to hear your own voice, you can mix that in with this slider. Now, the main thing that you need to adjust is the microphone position. Now, depending on your setup, you want to choose near or far. Now, as you can hear, the far setting makes everything a little bit louder, and the near setting is a little bit more quiet because it's meant to be used like this. So if you want to speak from further away, you should use the far setting. Now, on top of that, you can choose a tone. Currently, you hear the natural tone, which I think is a great standard setting. But you can also choose dark, which emphasizes the bass in your voice. There is also a bright setting, which sounds like this. Now, the last two settings change the LEDs. You can activate a live meter, which looks like this. So while you're talking, you can see that the LEDs give you a visual representation of your voice, which looks pretty nice. And you can also enable night mode, which dims the LED. So regarding the LEDs, you can choose between bright and night, but you cannot turn the LEDs off. Let's have a look at the manual settings. Now, the manual settings give you way more flexibility. Now, first of all, you can adjust the microphone gain, which is pretty much the same as the near and far setting. So if you get closer to the microphone, you can reduce the gain. And if you go further away, you would have to increase the gain. I already told you what the monitor mix is. You can also adjust this in the manual setting, but the equalizer and the compressor make the manual mode really interesting. Now, the equalizer has 4 settings. You are now listening to the flat equalizer. This is what the high pass equalizer sounds like. This is what the presence boost sounds like. I think that's pretty nice. And you can also have a combination of both settings. If you're someone that likes to scream into your microphone every now and then, you should activate the limiter because it helps reducing really loud parts. So whenever you need to yell into your microphone, a limiter is a good choice. If you're more like a calm speaker, you won't need the limiter. The most interesting setting in the Shure Motiv app to me is the compressor. Now, the compressor gives you that radio feel. So your voice sounds a lot different when you use the compressor. Let's switch to heavy so you can hear what I'm talking about. This is the heavy compressor setting in the Shure Motiv app. And as you can hear, the voice sounds a lot different. And this is much more radio-like. It's as if I'm in your head right now. You can also reduce this effect to medium. If that's too much for you, maybe you like the light setting on the compressor, which is not that intensive, right? So make your own choices as you go through these settings to find out what suits your voice and your message. So as you can see, there are quite some settings that you can play around with, and your voice will change a lot, and it will create a whole different character when playing around with these settings. And the good thing is that if you make these adjustments, they are saved in the microphone, and whenever you use the microphone without the app, it will still sound the same. Let's talk about the pros and cons of the Shure MV7. Now, in my opinion, there is not a lot to dislike about this microphone. But before we talk about the cons, let's talk about the pros and what's good about this microphone. Now, as I told you, the build quality is excellent. The audio quality is excellent. The included DSP and the included equalizer and compressor work perfectly. and they sound amazing. So overall, a great microphone. But what I don't like is the micro USB port. I think it's just not the way to go these days. It should have been USB-C. But let's put that aside. I mean, it's okay, and I think these cables will be around for a long time, probably. But there's one more thing, and I think the microphone is targeted to newcomers, to people that have not a lot of experience in microphones. And you can see that in the Shure Motiv app because it has this auto feature, which doesn't give you a lot of options and which is clearly targeted for beginners. And beginners don't know how to handle a microphone. They don't know how to speak into a microphone properly. And they might get some issues with these plosives, like pizza. Now, in my opinion, the foam that is included with the MV7 is not perfect for this audience. So if you're not used to speak into a microphone, you might get some issues with these plosives. Now, this can be fixed pretty easily, so there are a lot of ways to work around that. And there's also another foam that you can use on this microphone. It's the RK345. It's not made for this one, but it works with this one and it handles these plosives much better. So the only two issues that I have with the MV7 is the plosives problem, and the micro USB port that I personally don't like. That's something that can be handled, of course, but it's something that's worth mentioning. Time for some final thoughts. If you're looking for a good microphone, good in terms of good looking and good sounding, and your budget is around 250 euros, this one is probably one of the best microphones that you can get. The reason for that is you can connect it to your computer, you can connect it to your smartphone, you can also connect it to an audio interface with the XLR port. You get the integrated DSP, which has a compressor and an equalizer. And you get a pretty timeless and very solid design. So that's pretty much everything you need for a good microphone. So in my opinion, this is one of the best decisions you can make to improve your audio quality and to have a good looking microphone if you use it on camera. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any further questions about the Shure MV7, leave a comment and I'll do my best to help you out. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching and goodbye.